Action.
Greetings fellow Decepticons, Soundblaster1987 here, concluding my trilogy of Unicron Trilogy Megatron reviews with Armada Megatron with Minicon Leader 1. I know it's kind of weird that I've been reviewing the Unicron Trilogy Megatrons in reverse order, having got the Galaxy Force Leader at TF Nation last year and the Energon one off eBay, and now this one. In fact, this figure was actually from the same eBay seller as Animated Lockdown from last week. Just as a reminder, here is Animated Lockdown side by side with Armada Megatron and Leader 1 for a size comparison. And while we're getting the size comparisons out of the way, Energon Tidal Wave in his helicarrier form, as I called it in my review. We'll get back to him later. Now, Armada Megatron is kind of an infamous figure because he turns into one of the very first H-Tank Transformers, that being a Transformer whose tank mode has the silhouette of a capital H in the English alphabet. Generations Warpath is another example of this kind of tank. Now, this figure was recently listed as number 3 on Cybertron.com's list of top 5 best Armada figures because of a Minicon interaction. So, for example, plugging Leader 1 onto this purple peg on the turret here and sliding him down the rail will cause one of the missile launcher weapons to spring forward. Plugging him onto the other one at the back will cause a machine gun sound. And most of the other pegs are for storage, in vehicle mode at least. To transform, just fold the turret back and flip the guns onto the backs of his shins. Or calves, I suppose. Minicon Leader 1 here was actually reverse engineered, literally reverse engineered into Cybertron drill bit for Minicon partner to Metroplex. I do not currently have him available to show a side-by-side comparison. You'll have to wait for my Cybertron Metroplex review to see that. But needless to say, the cockpit is upside down and the wider axles are on the shoulders on drill bit as opposed to the other way round on Leader 1. Now, to show off more of Megatron's gimmicks, first, opening up one of the rear tread armor panels here, you get a clawed capture claw containment thing, which sadly most Minicons are too big to be safely contained inside. The other tread has a fold-out ramp, which is sadly missing on my copy, and a spring-loaded claw on a sliding panel. Then there's this double-sided peg on an orange panel here. And there's a teeny tiny black button on the back of the other tread, which springs out 3 more Minicon pegs. Turning the turret will cause a generic Decepticons attack, battle cry, and all 3 mechanical firing sounds from the other weapons. Also, despite being a big spring on the turret here, it is actually a friction fire weapon, which again causes one of the sounds. As well as being able to swivel 360 degrees, which very few tank Megatrons can actually boast these days. The cannon itself can also move on a ratchet joint, as you'll see later in robot mode. Now, the antlers on the head, although they are able to move, this was actually part of an abandoned gimmick because they thought they had one too many. This was supposed to attach to a lever at the back of the head to make them open and shut like a capture claw, but they ditched the lever and kept the spring-loaded antlers. Now, to transform Armada Megatron, very similar to Energon Tidal Wave except without the three-way dismemberment. So, bring out the legs like so, 180 degree rotation at the waist, make sure the turret's not in the way. Flip up the feet, flip out the heel spurs, then come into these side panels here and flip out the arms. At this point you may also, if you're not sick of that happening, you can also swivel the turret to one side, bring up the arm and bring the turret under his arm, much like it did in the anime, which is also a reference to the position of the barrel of the Generation 1 Megatron toy, which turned into a gun. Still need to track one of those down, by the way. Finally, slide this teeny tiny Decepticon symbol down to slide down a bit covering the face, and you have a completed Armada Megatron in robot mode. I currently do not have the other two Megatron figures from the Unicron trilogy on hand for a personal size comparison, so I will instead edit in a photograph I took of my display with all three shown. Moving on, Articulation. Very loud ratchets forward and back on the shoulders, as well as outward movement. 90 degrees just under at the elbow. And on this side, wrist rotation as well. Because of the gimmick on the other arm, the other hand doesn't do this. Although the elbow still works, the fingers are open and spring-loaded because there's a mini-com peg here that, when slid forward, springs out a knife. This is a reference to the episode of the anime where he did that at point-blank range to kill Smokescreen. Very similar in the leg department to Tidal Wave as well. No forward movement at all, only outward movement and sideways only knees. At least Tidal Wave can move his legs forward at least. For size comparisons, here are Megatron and Leader 1 again with, and here we have Megatron with Tidal Wave and Lockdown again. We'll come back to Tidal Wave in 30 seconds because we need him for the next bit. But before we get there, Megatron actually has an attack mode, called in the anime Full Blast Mode. To get here, just raise his arms, bring the cannon all the way back, and then dislocate his spine. I wish I was joking. Then bring the entire turret assembly around to the front. Then pop his spine back into place. Attach Leader 1. Onto this purple egg here on the rail. slide it into place. And now there is a teeny tiny crank handle at one side, which doesn't always work on my copy, but theoretically it should cause the entire turret assembly to spin rapidly like it did in the anime. This is also the starting point for a combination with Tidal Wave. So, first of all, split Tidal Wave into its 3 components. Now, pop Megatron's spine up again. Apologies, my lord. Attach the legs of Tidal Wave in this configuration by the C-clip to Megatron's spine to act as a jetpack. Then pop the bridge of the aircraft carrier down to form the combiner clip. Bring the arms together. Back into aircraft carrier mode. Make sure those are straight. And clip it into place over this arm. Making sure that the knife is retracted before you do this. And before you say anything in the comments, yes, I have seen the scenes in the anime where this happens, and this is the correct arm to put this side of Tidal Wave onto. In fact, in preparation for this review, I watched every scene where that happens just to make certain. Finally, take the destroyer or battleship component, bring these 2 half clips out from underneath, and connect them over Megatron's other arm. In retrospect, I should probably have attached the jetpack last so I can see what I'm doing from behind. And here we have Burning Megatron, using the Energon Repaint of Tidal Wave, of course, because I do not possess the original Armada version, either the American or Japanese repaint thereof. So, this monstrosity is pretty much the same, just a bit bulkier. Here's Lockdown for comparison again. So that just about wraps things up. I honestly don't know what I'm going to be reviewing next week because it depends on my TF Nation haul. So, until next time, I have been Soundblaster1987, and this has been my Armada Megatron review. See you at TF Nation, and till all are one.